Judy works for Minister Chabane, who is the Minister of Monitoring and Evaluation in the Presidency, and is the key touch point for us at the Ministry on Outcome 10. And if you remember, the outcome system is the performance agreement that the President signs with ministers. And the key outcome for our Minister of Water and Environment, is Outcome 10. She leads that outcome, and there are other ministers who contribute to Outcome 10, which she'll explain to you. And of course, what is really great is that Judy used to be in the Department of Environmental Affairs for decades, and she comes. So she's, great to engage with her and getting our monitoring and evaluation correct. And if I'm correct in saying, Judy, that this sector, the environment sector, is considered to be a leading sector in terms of grappling with Outcome 10 and grappling with the nuances of it. And apparently everybody loves us as a result. So thank you for coming.
Good afternoon, DG, DDGs, and all biodiversity practitioners, experts, researchers. I feel really incredibly honored to be here. Thank you for the invitation. It feels a little bit like coming home, and it is such a good feeling. In my distant past life, and I don't think it's quite decades. I hope not. I was actually, surprisingly, involved in community-based natural resource management issues, in questions around how do you make co-management work. That was in the NEMA days when CEO Tanya was leading us in getting NEMA through the system. In preparing for today, I thought that I'd better really just go into some of the work and really understand what has happened in the biodiversity sector in the last couple of years. And Crystal gave me the Biodiversity for Development book that has just come out. And I have to say that having read that and listening to all the exciting initiatives that are happening here, all this incredibly exciting information management stuff, all I can say is this is the place to be. Yes. Biodiversity, this is where it's at. It's a very, very exciting area of work. So what I'd like to do this afternoon is talk about the sphere of influence versus the sphere of control of yourselves as biodiversity practitioners. What is within the sphere of influence? What can you push? To what extent can you push the boundaries? I want to do a very quick overview in that context of the outcomes-based approach and the opportunities for pushing the boundaries, as well as an overview of the work of the National Planning Commission. And then talk a little bit about some of the emerging themes in the context of both the outcomes-based approach and the National Planning Commission work, particularly around climate change and green economy work, that I think is an area, once again, in which biodiversity practitioners can push the boundaries. So looking very quickly then at the sphere of control versus the sphere of influence. Quite clearly, the sphere of influence is a whole lot larger than the sphere of control. Thinking about then, what is your sphere of control? And this I got from Biodiversity for Development, so this will look very familiar. But for example, quite clearly, looking at questions like what should we be conserving, mapping those spatial layers, how much do we need, setting the targets, where do we need to do the conservation, doing all the analysis of the data, how best can we conserve it, how can this information be used. This is within your sphere of control. This is the work that you are doing on a daily basis. This is the work that you're excited about. This is where you're developing tools. and really gathering information, developing information management tools. What then is the sphere of influence? The whole issue here is how to mainstream the work that you are doing into all of the relevant sectors. And when I say sectors, I mean into the work that is being done at, for example, agricultural planning level, economic planning level, local government level, provincial government level. It's getting the biodiversity planners or practitioners into the right discussion forum at the right time with the right information, the right kinds of tools and skills, and really able to engage, negotiate, persuade, and get your biodiversity information into those forums, into the economic planning processes. Also, another part of that is about making sure that you're measuring the impact of what you're doing. And I think a lot of that from what I can see from the work that Selwyn is doing and the work that Mandy is doing, that is really what you're about. And it's bringing home the value of your biodiversity work to other sectors, to the health sector, to rural development, to agriculture, to economy, just for example. So then the key question is, so what exactly is within your sphere of influence? And what are the opportunities within those spheres? I'm going to talk, as I've said, very briefly about the Planning Commission, about the 5 government priorities, about the emerging themes, and about the outcomes-based approach. I'll start with the outcomes-based approach. You can see that it's highlighted there. And then move on to the National Planning Commission, and then move on to the emerging themes. So what is this outcomes-based approach? It's an attempt, and it's really a new initiative by government to introduce a way of planning which brings together all of government. So it brings together national, provincial, and local stakeholders and players, and brings in the other interest groups and stakeholders. It's about making sure that we link the work that we are doing, the activities that we're engaged in, with impact on citizens. So it's finding out exactly and demonstrating the extent to which we're actually having an impact on service delivery, an impact on people. It's about really making this very challenging thing called cooperative governance real. And in the environment sector, concurrent competency is a real challenge. I mean, we all know that local government has responsibilities, provincial government has responsibilities, national government has responsibilities, and none of us can do this without the support and contributions from other stakeholders. So it's a really complex governance terrain, to put it that way. It's about promoting evidence-based policy making and decision making. So it's asking the question, if we take this decision, or if we make this particular policy, what evidence do we have to back us up? What evidence is pointing us in a particular direction? Can we demonstrate? Can we prove? And finally, it is absolutely about increasing the strategic focus of government and once again demonstrating impact. Very quickly, the 12 outcomes, and I'm sure that you're probably familiar with them, so I'm not going to go through them, but in a nutshell, they're on education, health, crime prevention, employment creation, skills, economy, efficient, competitive, responsive economic infrastructure network, sustainable rural communities, sustainable human settlements, efficient local government, environment, there's environment, outcome 10, international issues, and then governance issues. And the ones that are in bold are the ones that I think, from an environment perspective, we have a very, very direct influence. And we have some very, very direct messages that we can provide. In fact, environment is so integrally linked to almost all of them that it's quite hard to lift out some and to leave others. I mean, crime prevention, there's a very direct link. For example, in the work that is being done around environmental crimes. International, there's a very direct link, for example, in the work that is being done on our international climate change, on CITES, on all of the multilateral environment agreements. So it's quite hard to lift out, but just for the benefit of today, I have lifted out a couple.